Awesome. Now, absolute values are something that you're just like, the key to these guys is don't think too hard about it. Don't think too hard about it. Don't think too hard about it. Okay, just please, please, please hold my hand. Don't think too hard about it. Okay? We're not going to think too hard about it, right? We're not going to panic because we only panic at the disco? Yeah. All right, so just don't think too hard about it. This is literally all it is. This is literally all it is. Okay? I'm going to show you a few examples, and then we'll write down the official definition, right? I don't like to start with the official definition. We can go back to that, because the great thing about the human brain is that we are super good at noticing patterns, right? That's like our whole thing as a species, is we are great at noticing patterns and having thumbs. So let's work on that. You know what? Just a second here. I'm going to mod you up. All right. So here's what it is. Absolute values are when you see these straight up and down liney line things, right? They almost look like railroad tracks. Just like two lines. And then there's two lines. And then there's going to be stuff in between those guys, right? There's going to be stuff in between them. So, like, let's say I had 6 in between them. What an absolute value is asking me for, sorry, I'll move so you can see that. What an absolute value is asking me for is how far away from 0 is 6? How much is there? How much of the number is really there? Anyone have any guesses? Yep, it's the distance from 0. How far away from 0 is 6? I am seeing some beautiful answers, my dears. You know this, don't think too hard about it. You're probably being like, is it that obvious? Is it that obvious? It's not a trick question. It's that obvious. Oh, beautiful, my dears. It is 6. The absolute value of 6 is 6. And like, think of it like, what's the value of 6, right? That's how I always remembered it, is what's the value of 6? Well, the value of 6 is 6. Why'd they even ask me that? That was so obvious, right? It's that easy. So that's why I said, don't overthink it. Just don't overthink it. Whatever your gut reaction is right. All right. So now we're going to do the absolute value of -6. What do you think the absolute value of -6 is going to be? Again, don't overthink it. Just don't overthink it. I'm seeing such good answers, my dears. I'm also seeing some of my favorite wrong answers. And you're probably like, favorite wrong answer? What does that mean? But it means that whenever we do something wrong, we're doing it a little right. And there's some serious logic behind it. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. And thank you for the roses, my dear. Awesome. The absolute value of -6 is 6. And if you got it wrong, that's okay. Because I asked you to possibly do something that you've never done before. So how could you know? I asked you to make a guess, and you made a guess, and that was beautiful. So let's take a minute to notice a pattern, okay? The absolute value of 6 was 6. The absolute value of -6 was also 6. Think of it as how much value is there in the middle, right? There's 6 for both. The hard and fast rule, oh, thank you, my dear. The hard and fast rule for absolute values is when you see things in these little in these little brackets that are straight up and down lines, it means turn the number positive. That's the hard and fast rule, is whatever's in the middle, it's that number, but it's positive. Okay? That's the really quick rule. That's not the mathematically sound rule, but it's a way to remember it. We'll get to what the mathematically sound rule is in just a little bit, okay? All right, so let's try a couple more, and I want you guys to put your best guesses out there, okay? All right. I want you to try these two problems. And then we'll do the answers, okay? And then we'll do the definition, and then we'll get a little funky. But take a moment and try these two. Also, sorry about the glare on the board. Looking beautiful, my dears. I love when I see things with question marks because that tells me that you're trying, even if you're not totally sure. And I think that's so beautiful. I think that's so brave, and I'm so proud of you for that. Coffee. Oh, you're so sweet, my dear. Oh, so beautiful. So beautiful, loves. Go, I try not to scratch off my mustache. All right. Burp, 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 burp. You guys are so totally right. The absolute value of 3 is 3. And the absolute value of -4 is 4. Remember, our hard and fast rule was whatever's inside these lines becomes positive. It's that number, but it's the positive version of it. So if it's positive, it stays positive. If it's negative, it turns positive. That's all. That's all. Good job. All right, now we're going to write down the actual mathematical definition of absolute value. Okay? I'm glad you find it fun. Let's write down the actual definition, because for some people it helps, and it's good to have it noted, right? All right. I really need to I think this would be funny. Let me know what you think. I think that if I put an eraser head, like if I put an Azawa sticker on my eraser for this board, I think that'd be really funny. What do you guys think? It'd be my eraser. I don't have good jokes, but I really love that idea. I wonder if I have an eraser head sticker just lying around. I might. We'll check in a little bit, okay? And then whenever anyone, like, people always without fail come onto this and they're like, where's Azawa? Where's Eraserhead? And I can be like, Also, my students can't steal this one. I have no erasers again at work because my students keep abducting my erasers and holding them hostage and making weird religions around them. Teenagers are weird, man. Oh, I think it's great. Except for when I can't erase my board. All right. So here is the mathematical definition of absolute values and why we can be like, yeah, that negative's now a positive. And some of you were like, what, why, what, but why, for why, right? Which is what you should be asking. Like, sometimes in math class, teachers will be like, stop asking why. But it's like, no, never stop asking why. That's good to remember. That's good to know. Sometimes the full reason might be just with like not quite in your grasp yet. And you might have to trust people that like with a few more things, you'll totally have it. But like, it's good to always be asking why that works. Why do we do that? Why is that a thing? Right? Never stop asking. All right. So the absolute value is asking the distance from 0. The distance, I'll say that number is that M was weirdly far away from from 0. I'm going to put a little dash through it just so that we know it's 0 and not an O. And then I'll talk about what that means. Because you might be like, what does that mean? What distance? We're measuring distance now? Yay, I'm glad that was actually totally my goal, was to feel like you're in class 1A. I love that. So I'll give you a moment. I know some people like to write these down, so I'll give you a moment if you want to write that down, and then I'll explain what I mean by a distance, right? Because you're probably like, why are we talking about distance now? Yes, I fully encourage you to pick a student you identify with and pretend you're them during this time. Fully encourage that. If you're in cosplay watching this, A+. I hope, I hope that there are some of you out there that watch this dressed in cosplay. That would make my heart very happy. I'm glad I can make math easier for you. Yes! Deku cosplay, I love it. That's okay. You don't have to be in cosplay or have cosplay. Oh, my heart's so happy. Thank you to everyone telling me what cosplay you're in right now. That makes me so happy. Or just telling me the character that you are. You're in Mina. So theoretically, we could have a full class 1A with me right now. Oh, that's good. That's the good stuff. That's the good stuff. Oh. I'm going to turn on a few lights quick here. All right. So here's what I mean by distance, okay? We're going to think of a number line. That's not how a number line moves. Anyways, would you like a bad example? Thank you for the roses, honey. Let's think of a number line. Oh gosh, if I can draw one. Oh, come on, man. Want my little arrows at the end because number lines go on for freaking ever, right? They never stop. Can't stop, won't stop. I'm going to put my 0 in the middle. Also, I just want to dispel something right away. A lot of times I get where people think that working on a number line is all like, oh, that's what little kids do and stuff, and I'm older than that, and I don't need a number line. Get over it. Because mathematicians use number lines to help explain things all the time. Right? It's okay. Every tool is a good tool. Okay? Whatever tool helps you is good. Oh yeah, I'm actually a teacher. I've been teaching math for 7 years. All right. So, let's fill out our number line. Number line. 1. Great. So when I'm asking, yeah, totally, my dear. when I'm asking about like what is the absolute value of, let's first say 2, right? When I say I want the absolute value of 2 and I say what's the distance that the number is from 0, I'm saying, hey, I'm at 2 over here. How far away am I from 0, right? How far did I move? Well, I moved over 2 spots. So the absolute value of 2 is 2. That's all I did. Oh, thank you for the roses, honey. Similarly, if I said, I'll erase this part. Similarly, if I used a negative number, let's say I'm at -2, right? I'm here now, and I want to know how far away am I from 0? Well, I would never measure a distance by negatives, right? No matter which direction I'm going, right? I wouldn't be like, oh, you go -2 blocks, right? Like, I don't say that. That's not a distance. We can't measure distance that way. I am still 2 away from 0. That is how far I have moved. So absolute values are really all about distance and measuring which direction I have gone, where I have moved, no matter which way I'm moving, how far I have moved from my starting point, right? In which case we usually call our starting point 0, just for the sake of simplicity, right? So that's all it is. All that this is saying, how far is my distance? How far did I move? Okay? When you see these parallel lines in between numbers, it's just saying, well, then how far did I move from that spot? And that's why the answer is always positive. You feel me? If that didn't sink in too much, that's okay. If you need to listen to this again, this live is going to be up on YouTube later, and you can do that. It doesn't matter how many times you need to hear something or go over something for it to sink in. Sometimes it takes me a while, and that's okay. It's okay for things to be confusing at first. And if you got it right away, that's also awesome. And if all you really remember is that it has to be positive, that's good too. Okay? Remember, with mathematics, it's kind of all about preparing you for opportunities, right? You might not need everything you learn in mathematics in your entire life. I clearly do because I'm a math teacher, but you might not. But I'd rather you have it and not need it than need it and not have it, right? It opens doors. So, let's keep going. So yeah, the huge, how can I use this in my everyday life? Like the caps was a little much, buddy, right? And the answer for some of this is you won't. You won't. You'd be surprised how much you will use in your everyday life in math. You will be surprised, I assure you. But some of it, you won't. But some of it, you really will. And I can't tell you. I don't have a crystal ball in front of me. I can't tell you if this is something that you are absolutely going to need to know. Because for many professions, you absolutely need this. You need it, right? You cannot do your job without it. But for some, you don't. That's just facts. But honestly, isn't that all of school? And that's okay. There's also nothing wrong with learning something that you're not going to use, because it worked out your brain anyways and helped make you better at learning. There's no waste in any education ever. Keep that in mind, okay? All right, let's make this a little more funky. Yes, counting money. I always tell my students, I don't trust people with my money. I don't trust people with my money, right? So I always do those calculations. Even if they tell me this is what it is, I check. And you'd be surprised how often people get it wrong. All right. Also, with art, I use math every day for art, and people get shocked at that. But I do. All right, let's make this a little funky, and maybe it'll help better explain why we consider it the distance, okay? And what's happening in these problems, all right? So we're going to pull out a couple example problems where they're going to get just a little bit more funky. Just a little bit. I typically do these lessons every other weekend. And I do Saturdays. I know people always come on here complaining it's on a Saturday. But honey, I got a day job. I'm teaching math every other day of the week too. It's just, this is when I can do it on here. So about every other Saturday. Also, I really like the idea of having a Saturday morning class. Or a Saturday morning TV show, you know? It's kind of fun. All right. Let's do this. Take a moment. What do you think this is going to be? Remember, these are absolute values. Sorry, I'll try and make them a little bigger. What is that answer going to be? Give it your best guess. It's okay if you're wrong. Awesome, my dears. You guys are all so wonderful and smart and beautiful. You know that? Great. All right. Here it is. So, if I'm going to consider this problem without the absolute values first, okay? I'm going to consider it without them. Without them, what is 4 minus 10? Well, 4 minus 10 is negative 6. But then I bring my absolute values into play, right? Because negative 6 is not my final answer. So I have that. And now what's the absolute value of negative 6? Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. It's positive 6 because negative 6 is 6 away from 0. So this equals 6. And so why you might have something like this is, let's take into consideration you're saying okay, you're trying to pinpoint something's location. Let's say we're doing that. Thank you for the roses. If I'm saying I moved 4 in one direction and then 10 in the opposite direction, where am I now? A way for a computer to easily calculate that would be to put in, well, I want the absolute value because I want to know the total distance, right? I want to know how far away is it from that starting point? I shouldn't say total distance. So entering those two things in is a really easy way for the computer to spit out that it's 6 away. Well, I hope that was helpful. If not, that's okay. Remember, it's okay to not get it the first time, the second time, or the 10th time, as long as you always keep trying. All right, let's try another. We'll put a couple on here. Give these guys a try. Try to make this really obvious that they're absolute values. Sorry about that. Give these guys a try. Yeah, lots of 6s today. I don't know. That's where my brain is, I guess. Oh, you're sweet. You guys are always so sweet. Also, thank you all for trying your best. You should be really proud of yourself for that. I'm seeing some really awesome answers. Awesome. Yeah, the dot is multiply. I don't like to use x's for multiply because we're going to be using x's a lot later, okay? So I will always be using the dot or parentheses for multiplication. Cool? All right, let's talk about it. Talk about it. Talk about it. Ay. Also, I am just sitting on my floor. All right, so I'm going to do 64 plus 2. 64 plus 2 is going to give me 66. Yeah, there's a lot of 6s today. I guess that's the number of the day. And 66 is 66 spaces away from 0. So it's 66. Remember, we're just making it positive. It was already positive, so like that's all she wrote, right? All right, so now I've got negative 4 times 6. Well, negative 4 times 6, that, my dears, is a negative 24. So I have the absolute value of negative 24. But I do not leave it that way. I do not leave it that way. No, 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 sir, no. I have to take the absolute value of it. What is the absolute value of negative 24? Raise my little eyebrows. Beautiful, my dears. We make it positive because it's asking for a distance, and distances are measured positively, and I'm positive about that. So it is 24. Bam! What? I'm glad I can make this fun for you. A pun intended. I love that you're getting into cosplay right now while watching this. That makes me happy. Oh, I'm so glad that you understand it now. I learned today. Yeah, buddy. Let's get it. I'm so glad this can be helpful. All right. We're going to do a couple more problems like this, okay? Yeah, a couple more. Make them a little funkier. And then, let me see. We might have time to move on to a slightly different topic, okay? We might have time to move on to a slightly different topic. But let's first just focus on these ones. Where'd my marker go? Why am I like this? Well, we'll start by erasing the board, and hopefully it'll magically pop up. Oh, there it is. I'm a winner. By the time I finish erasing. Where's my eraser? There it is. Can never find my husband. Gosh. Ugh. How many eraser mic jokes can I fit into this live? I used to have a coworker who said that the secret to happiness was cat puns. So every day we tried to fit in as many cat puns with one another as possible. It was amazing. I hope he's doing all right now. Ugh. Yeah. I liked that way of saying absolute values. That was beautiful, my dear. All right, so let's say this. We're going to make this just a little funkier. And you might notice I use small numbers for these examples, and that's because I'm more concerned on you guys getting the concept than worrying about dealing with big old numbers, right? No, we'll do this one first, and then I'll give you a couple, okay? You got to be kidding me. You get it. You get it. Ooh, yep, this one's a little tricky because we got comfy with an idea. But is that really what's happening? Ha. I still have coffee. Seeing some good answers. I'm loving the guesses. They make me very happy. Think about what it means. My hint is think about what it means. Think about what I'm taking the absolute value of and what I am not taking the absolute value of, okay? Seeing very, very good answers, my dears. Even the wrong answers definitely have logic behind them, and I appreciate that so much. All right, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. I love that we're all putting ourselves out there and putting our best guesses and trying it. You know what's really beautiful about trying a problem and getting it wrong? Here's the really beautiful thing about it, okay? And this is neuroscience, okay? This is frickin' science for your brains. So, when you make a guess, when you give something an honest try, right? You put in that effort, you make your brain work, you put out an answer, even if that answer is wrong. When you are told the correct answer, your brain remembers it better. So like it's going to remember that answer so much better than if you just sat here and looked at it and went, well, I don't know, and I'm probably going to get it wrong, so I'm just not going to do it. That's not going to help you learn anything. But your brain is literally learning it, even if you get it wrong. When you put that effort in and then you listen to the answer. Isn't that freaking cool? So you don't have to be right when you're doing these. You don't have to be. Because you're learning either way. And I always say, we learn a lot from our failures. Successes, not so much. And that's okay. That's actually pretty cool, I think. All right, let's do it. Let's do it. All right, we're going to break this guy up into bite-sized pieces, okay? We break up into bite-sized pieces. What is the absolute value of -4? Ignore all this. Ignore it. It's not there right now. Absolute value of -4. The absolute value of... Beautiful. Yes. Oh, I love that. Never wrong when you're learning. Oh, love that. Let's put that on a t-shirt. -4. The absolute value of -4 is 4. Nailed it. All right. So now what's the absolute value of 2? Yum, 4. The absolute value of 2 is 2, right? Now notice how this minus, right, was outside this time. It was outside of, words are hard. It was outside of the absolute values, yeah? So since it was outside of the absolute values, it was not affected by the absolute values. No absolute values were applied to this negative right here. Oh my gosh, it escaped them. It escaped. All right. So we'll bring it down. That negative is still there. That minus is still there. Okay? It was not inside of the absolute values. It was outside of them. So now I have this minus here. So I go 4 minus 2. 4 minus 2 is 2. That's my answer. Don't feel stupid. We just talked about this, right? No wrong answer when we're learning. We're trying our best, and I can see how you got 8. I honestly can. Your brain was doing something logical. And that's pretty cool. All right, let's try another one, shall we? We'll try one exactly like this guy, and then we'll spice it up a little bit more. Mix it up. All right, we'll do, let's give this guy a try, shall we? Give this guy a quick try. These are absolute, I'll try and make the absolute values bigger, sorry. Clearer. It's a little hard when you're writing on the board. Give this a try. We won't spend as long on it. I agree, reviewing this stuff at honestly any level is very important and helpful. Even if you are a mathematician, reviewing the basics, reviewing anything is extraordinarily important. It keeps it fresh in your brain. Also, having that reality check and that reminder of why we do things is important. It's so easy to lose it. All right, great. -8, the absolute value of that is 8. The absolute value of -3 is 3. This minus is not inside of the absolute values, so it remains negative. So I just bring that sucker right on down. I'll do a little arrow. Bring it down. 8 minus 3 is 5. Huzzah! Beautiful! Good job. I'm proud of you. All right. According to multiple calculators, it's wrong. Here's the problem with calculators, honey. They're not good at negative signs. They're not. They're not. And you'll learn that. And you'll notice that. We call that error in seat because the calculator can only do so much. That's why mathematicians are not out of a job. All right, let's do something else. Let's do it a little differently, right? Let's play around with these in a different way. Yeah, keep in mind, I like to use calculators for very specific calculations. But calculators aren't very good at order of operations, and sometimes they're not very good with negatives, okay? And it really depends from calculator to calculator. But you'll notice those programming errors. So be very, very careful with calculators. And I suggest when you use them that you break up what you're doing. You do not enter the whole thing. Never enter the whole thing into a calculator on what you're doing. Always do it just piece by piece. And be very methodical on what you are entering in a calculator and what you are not. Because they can go so wrong. Okay? Be smarter than your calculator. It's a great tool, but know how and when to use it, right? And that's why for these, I'm not going to make you use a calculator. We're keeping them nice numbers, nice bite-sized numbers, so we can get the concept. All right. Let's do this. There was an idea that I saw that I liked that I wanted to try with you guys. Yeah, let's take those into account. Let's do this. This is a weird one, but it's true. All right? And it's good to keep in mind. I know I said not big numbers, but we don't need to do much with this one. What the heck do you think I do there? What do you think that's going to be? Oh, you guys are so smart and beautiful. Do you know that? You guys are so great. Oh, it's okay not to know it. Try putting your best guess, okay? I like how someone was like, it's either this one or this one. I love that. We're like, okay, it's one of the two. One of them. All right, excellent. So, does anyone remember what it means when you have a negative outside of any parentheses? Does anyone remember what that means when I have a negative outside of any parentheses? What is this negative out here really saying? Yes, multiply. Multiply by what? Multiply by what? What am I multiplying by when I have a negative outside of parentheses? Yes, -1. Whenever you see this minus outside of any form of parentheses, it doesn't matter if they're squiggly, doesn't matter if they're curved, doesn't matter if they're straight up and down, outside of any type of parentheses, what I am really truly saying with that is times -1. Okay? Whenever you see that in life, it means this. Make these really big so I know that they're absolute values. And knowing that, right, that this is times -1, knowing that probably makes this problem a lot easier, right? Awesome. Some people have changed their answers. There you go. There you go. Whenever you see a negative outside of any parentheses, it's truly saying times -1. You still have to do the absolute value first. Good job. All right, so let's go through it. The absolute value, we always do our absolute values first, right? Because order of operation, we always do parentheses first, and absolute values are a form of parentheses. Parentheses. That's a fun word. So absolute value of -30 is 30. And then I still have to multiply that guy. That was too big. By -1. So now I have -1 times 30. Right? I got really big. It's not a decimal. It's a multiply. -1 times 30, that sucker is -30. So my answer was negative 30. Woo! Yay! Oh, thank you for the finger arts, hon. All right, let's try. I'll give people a chance to write this down if they want to, and we'll try another one just like this, okay? Just to get the motion of it down. I'm proud of you. Good job. All right. Let's go. We'll try another one just like it. Remember, we ended up with the negative because we had that outside. We're breaking it down into bite-sized pieces. We'll try something very similar, and you all give it a try. Just to get that good old-fashioned muscle memory, right? Because your brain is like a muscle. Is your brain technically a muscle? It's an organ, so it's not a muscle. I know stuff. All right, we'll do... Not much different. Just a different number. Give it a try. Get that muscle memory down. And then we'll mix some stuff up together, okay? Good job, my dears. I'm so proud of you. Oh, so good. So good, my dears. All right. So remember, this is actually saying times -1. So I'm just going to rewrite it like that. You don't necessarily have to. I like to because we're learning right now. There we go. Times -1. So I first do my parentheses, right? -5. What is the absolute value of -5? Well, that is going to be 5. And I still have to multiply it by -1. -1 times 5 is -5. Bing, bang, bop. We're done. Woo! Thank you for the roses, hon. That wasn't that bad. Actually, we did the distributive property last week. So if you would like to see that, you can go to my YouTube channel and you can look for the Algebra 1 series. You can find my YouTube channel on in my link tree in my bio on this page, okay? All right, let's mix some stuff up for one last big problem, okay? Yep, we are. So my dears, some of you missed this because you came on a little later. We are actually going through an entire algebra class, okay? We're going through an Algebra 1 class. This is the 3rd lesson. There are other random math YouTube videos up there, but I've decided that we're going to go through an entire class, okay? So you should all go to my YouTube channel. You can look up Thistlewitch on YouTube, or you can go to my link tree in my bio and follow that to my math YouTube. We are going to be going through an entire Algebra 1 class. And when we're done with that, we'll move on to geometry. That way, we are going to have just resources that we've built up so that everyone can kind of get that math that they need. And you can go back and look over it if you need more help or if you need to see it again, okay? These lives are getting uploaded there. So I hope that's helpful. And yep, we'll do Algebra 1 first, then we'll do geometry, then Algebra 2. Hopefully then we'll get to trigonometry and maybe some calculus. We'll see how long this goes, okay? I love calculus. Anyways, Hello. Let's do one more big problem. But yeah, you can, and if you're interested in seeing the book that I'm just kind of following along with, this guy's only like $13 on Amazon, and he follows the Algebra national standards for America. So I tried to find something that would be useful for as many people as possible. Okay? So yeah, it's this guy that I'm working off of, okay? All right, let's do it. One more big problem where we're going to just mix together some pieces. And remember, you know how to do all these pieces now. Just cut them up into bite-sized pieces. Don't get overwhelmed. That's the biggest thing, that advice I could ever give you in mathematics, is to not get overwhelmed, okay? Take it piece by piece. Cut it down into bite-sized pieces, okay? Hard math is just easy math stacked upon each other, wearing a trench coat, trying to get into an R-rated movie. I only have bad metaphors. Okay, let's do this. I'm just making this up on the fly. These are the absolute values. More sixes. All right, try this guy. We're just putting together some stuff, okay? Break it down into bite-sized pieces and give it a try. I'm loving all the different answers I'm seeing. And remember, this is a multiplication sign, right? Not a decimal. That's multiplication. All right, we are out of time, so I'm going to start working through this one, but I'm seeing some great answers, my dears, okay? I like the either or ones. You're like, it's one of those. All right, so here we go. We're going to do our parentheses first, right? Parentheses always first. So, I'm going to rewrite this so that my negative is really saying times -1, right? Just so, I usually wouldn't do this, but since we are learning today, it's good to keep saying what it is, right? That's times 2 absolute value plus absolute value of 6. -5 times 2, that's -10. Oh, let's hope I don't run out of room. I'm going to write a little smaller. -10, absolute value. I'm just carrying everything else down with it. Times -1. The absolute value of -10 is 10. The absolute value of 6 is 6. That plus sign's going to follow me down. And I still have this times a -1. Now I'm going to do multiplication, right? Because that's my next step in order of operations. -1 times -10 is -10 plus 6. -10 plus 6. Awesome, 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 my dears. That is -4. Beautiful.